Hello, happy Monday, Dream Team. I hope you guys had a great weekend and that you're kicking the week off. We are down to our final full week of July, which is mind-boggling. Next Monday, I will be telling you that it's the last day of July. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I feel like it was just March not that long ago. So I feel like it's flying by. Um, she's not on here yet or not on here, but I wanted to I guess we'll all just tell her about it when it's over with. But our dream team rewards winner for the week for last week is Sandra Delbeck. She had the highest points. There were no tie this week, so we just have one. um but I was super proud of her. If you guys were there, and I feel like a lot of you were, the local that she put on last week was just so good. Our I feel like every month there's like a different vibe to the event. Just depends on who comes and the stories that are shared. But I just left this last one feeling so happy, like to have gotten to see everybody, especially Miss Charlotte, who made the big drive down for us. And it was just fun to just there was a lot of us and we were back together again, and that makes my heart happy. So thank you to everyone who made it. Um, so yeah, I'll put out the graphic then when we get off of here, and we'll just let her find it. We'll let her find out along the way that she got the rewards points for the week. Okay. So the last couple of weeks we've talked about showing up for your business. 2 weeks ago we talked about creating your alter ego. Um, some people sent me their why not exercise from last week. Some people didn't. If you haven't seen the video yet from last week where we talk about, because so if you didn't see it, a lot of times with this business we talk about our why, but what we talked about last week was our why not, because it's really important that you start to understand why you're not moving forward, why you're not taking the steps to get to where you want to need or want to go. And so I had put out last week, I did a couple of, I put out that Sign Up Genius, and I did a couple of one-on-one coachings. I think I've done 4 so far. And based on those 4 that I've done so far, I just feel like we need to talk about ego again, because it's something that I struggle with every single day. And after I've talked to a lot of people, everyone is struggling with it. So let me back up really quick and tell you, when I was growing up, I would hear people say, he's got such a big ego, or he's so egotistical. And so I grew up with the understanding that if somebody had a big ego, it meant that they were full of themselves. They thought they were better than everyone else. Um, and I don't like, did you guys, is that what you thought growing up, or did you guys hear other things? Like, it's so funny how you just accept what you're told when you're little. But yeah, it was just, oh, he's got a huge ego. He thinks he's better than us. He's got a better car, a better house, or whatever. And that was what I really thought ego meant. And so I always tried to not have an ego. I always see big ego as arrogant. Yeah. And so I tried to basically grow up without an ego, right? I didn't want to be that girl. I didn't want to be the girl with the ego who thought she was better than everybody, blah, 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 blah. But turns out everyone has an ego. If you're alive and you're breathing and you have a mouth and you have eyes and you have ears and all that stuff, you have an ego. And it's just a part of our personality. Like if your personality was this big circle, your ego is a dot in the middle. But just like how it only takes one little dot of mold to spread and ruin something, it only takes one little dot of ego to spread through your personality and ruin something. And now looking back too, as an adult and knowing more about humans than I ever did when I was young, the people who are better than, the people who are tougher than, smarter, like we all now know that it's because they're insecure. And so they're trying to pretend like they're better because if they can be better, then they don't have to, they'll be better. No one can pick on them. No one can say they're not great or good enough. And so ego gets kind of confusing when you really start talking about it. So I'll do my best to not get confusing, but I can't promise anything. So basically, every single one of us, myself included, we all have an ego. Your ego, the driver, in the driver's seat of your ego is fear. Fear is literally what directs everyone's ego. So remember, we have this big personality and we have that little dot of ego. Your big personality is who you are truly meant to be. It's who you truly want to be. It's what your DNA designates you to be. And so even though we can have somebody who is like just joyful and loving and outgoing and all these things, they have that little ego in there, and there's fear. And that fear, you guys all know how powerful fear is, right? Fear will make or break people. And it's that little bit of fear that will take that person's joy and outgoingness and loving and kindness, and it'll literally crush them. And what happens, the reason ego is so important to understand in your business is because I'm I'm I won't say I know that this happens to all of you. I will just tell you every example I'm getting ready to give you, I have lived, right? So there are days I wake up and I'm on my morning walk and I'm like, oh, I should go live today about this. Or, oh, I think I'm going to hop in the team page and I'm going to talk about this. Or I'm going to make a post about this. Or, yeah, I'm going to call so and so today. Right. I'm on my walk. I'm feeling good. The sun is shining. The birds chirping and it's awesome. And then I get home and I take my shower and I eat my breakfast. And then I'm like, I don't know if I want to go live. Like, what if that's stupid? It seemed like a good idea on my walk, but what if it's stupid? I'm not going to call so and so. I know on my walk I was feeling good about it, but I think if I call her, it's going to annoy her. We call it fear. You guys, that's your ego. That is literally your ego taking your hopes and dreams and desires and poo-pooing all over it because your ego is afraid of everything. That's why when somebody has a big ego and they're arrogant, they're afraid for people to know that they're not perfect, that they're not the top this, they're not the best at that, right? That's when people act arrogant. I call it little man syndrome. Where you have that little man who acts like he's better than everybody and is always very boastful, and in reality it's because he's so afraid people are going to know the real him and not accept the real him. And we are that exact way when it comes to our business, when in reality I want you to look around at the names on your screen, or think about the people who are on Zooms normally, or maybe the people that you have in chats, the people that you're friends with on Facebook. I think you're all amazing from top to bottom. I think every quirk, every humorous, I don't know, I just think you're all amazing. And hopefully you think I'm amazing. I don't know. But our ego gets in the way and says, oh, you're not amazing. You're not enough. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not skinny enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not right. We literally let our ego tell us that. I would have never in a million years tell any of you that. A, because it's not true. I wouldn't say it. But B, I would never say that. But yet we say it to ourselves all the time. Our ego is constantly waiting for the ball to drop. And instead of allowing us to fly, it shuts us down with fear. Right. So if you think of this, gets a little spiritual. So hang with me. If you're not into it, then if you're not into Jesus, think about who or what you're into. You have a life to live. And I know that sounds simple, but if you really take that sentence, you have a life. You have this whole world in front of you. You have so many things that are going to be coming your way that you have no idea. When you think back over the last 20 years of your life, are you like, wow, I never would have thought half of that. I never would have even dreamt half of that. I never would have dreamt of these people that I know now. I wouldn't thought it was going to go to these places. I didn't think I would have this job. Right? We never would have thought that. 20 years ago, if I told that Tammy, hey, here's your life at 48, 28-year-old Tammy would be like, you're crazy. Like that's not the plan. That's not, I don't even know what you're talking about. But Charlotte says this fits my, I'll have to go back and read your post. But so your life is this magnificent, wonderful journey that you get to live. And if you are a believer, you understand that when your life here ends, that it carries on someplace else. We believe in the ongoing, right? So we may leave earth, but we're going to be in heaven. Your ego only believes in life and death in a matter of it's here and it's over with. And it believes that you're separate from everyone. Your ego is so worried about you and protecting you and keeping you alive and keeping you safe, keeping you out of harm's way, keeping you from getting your feelings hurt, keeping you from getting your body physically hurt, that your ego is just so fearful the whole time. It doesn't believe beyond. It doesn't believe that there's something on the other side of all of this. It thinks that this is it and this is the most important, and you better stay careful, and you better be liked, you better be loved, you better be perfect, you better do all these things. When in reality, that's not what we're here for. That's a very small way to live. And I can think of a few people in my life that I know they live that way. They're perfect. They are perfect in every way, right? But they're not. And I just want to shake them and be like, we love you just the way you are. Just Be yourself. Like, stop pretending. And so, because they want everyone to think they have this great big life, they don't share the fact that they really have a kind of small, intimate path that they're on. They want people to think that they're more than they are instead of understanding that who they are is more. Who you are is more. You are just you being here is more. That's all you need to be in life. So the reason I wanted to kind of go back over ego again is because I want you to start thinking how many times a day, just throw it in the chat or unmute and tell me how many times a day, now that you know what it is, how many times a day do you think your ego takes over the driver's seat of your mind? And none of us want to, nobody wants to think they have an ego, or at least that's me. I never want to think like I'm egotistical, but whew, that girl, she drives. She grabs the steering wheel a lot, at least 2 to 3 times a day until I shut that bitch up. Ronnie says too many to count. Courtney says more than it should. Yeah, yeah, right. Because we're fearful of what people think of us. We're fearful instead of going into that bigger life that we have. Like I have to stop myself every now and then. I think, and again, this is just a peek into my brain. Welcome to Mondays with Tammy. When I get to the pearly gates, I don't want them to be like, "Hey, girl, we put this whole thing in front of you. We had all these amazing people that came into your life. We gave you this tool that you could literally turn around and change people's lives, but you didn't. Why didn't you do it?" And if I have to look at the big man and say, because I was afraid they would laugh at my Instagram story, when he'll be like, I made the sun and the moon and the flowers and the air, like, and he'll be like, you were worried about an Instagram story? And I know, like, when I say that, it sounds funny, but how many times do you stop yourself because you're worried about what someone's going to think of your story? They're going to think I post too much. They're going to think I talk about weird things. They're going to think that, oh, she's back on here talking about Thrive again. Because here's the real truth when it comes to your ego. And I did have this conversation, and it sounds really mean when I say it. So don't think I'm being mean. We're not that important. We're just, none of us are that important. The only life that you are that important in is your own. But we project that onto everyone else. We think we're the reason that people try Thrive. We think we're the reason that people become promoters. We think we're the reason that somebody is or isn't successful, right? How many of you have lost a customer and been like, oh my gosh, what did I do? You didn't do anything. It's not you. You're not that important. That's your ego telling you, oh, girl, you messed up. We're fearful here. You're not that important. I can tell you right now, the clothes I have on my body, the furniture I have in my home, the food I choose to eat, I may have seen other people do it, but I didn't go buy that stuff because someone told me to, because I felt like I had to, right? They're not that important. It's my life. That's what's important to me. Sonia said, I had somebody bring up Thrive and wanting more info when I was writing Saturday, and I kind of shrunk back for a minute. And then I just said, I love helping people feel better. I'd be happy to chat. Yes. Yes. And we sync back because I'm going to guess on your half, but we sync back because we're like, oh no, they're going to think I'm trying to sell them something. Oh no, I'm trying to sell them something. They're going to think I'm just trying to take their money. When in reality, we're not. They want to, all we can do is present facts to people. Think about the last newfangled thing you bought. I'm a victim, and I will flat out call it victim. I am a victim of social media. I will see a TikTok about a product and think, oh, that's kind of neat. And then I'll see another TikTok about it a day or two later. And then by the fifth TikTok, I'm like, Amazon, send it right now. Right. But how many TikToks did I just see before I decided to do it? I didn't do it because of one person telling me to do it. I don't even remember the first person that showed it to me. Right. I they're not that important in my life. I had to make that decision. And so when you're worried about, I got to be the best promoter, or I'm not a good enough leader to have a great team, because you're not, being a leader is a wonderful, amazing thing. And I know a lot of you have people under you as far as the hierarchy of the business goes, but you know, any day they could soar to the top and pass you, or they could drop off the face of the earth. It doesn't have anything to do with you. Now, if you're mean to people, if you're rude to people, then yeah, that might have something to do with you. But again, being mean and rude, who is that? That's your ego. And anytime you start to struggle, here's how I have to do this. Anytime I start to struggle with like, wait, is this me or my ego? Is this me or my ego? What's happening here? What am I feeling? Who's doing the talking? That's when I refer to my alter ego in my head. So when we talked about I'm stepping on your toes, Charlie, you're so cute. When I talked about alter ego 2 weeks ago, and I said, let's come up with your exact opposite, right? Like when, and she's on here, but hers was the cutest name. So Sassy Sandra, right? We all, like when I said Sassy Sandra, we all knew right away she wasn't going to be apologizing. She wasn't going to be taking people's excuses, right? We understood right away what her alter ego would do. But if I said to you, what's Sandra's ego like? You'd be like, oh, she doesn't have an ego. Yes, she does. She fearfully listens to people's excuses. She fearfully isn't putting herself all out there, right? That's the real ego. That's why when you struggle to think I don't have an ego or I don't lead with my ego, then I have to say, okay, like if this was my alter ego, what would she have done or what would she have said? And then that's when I can understand who's really driving in that seat. So I'm not I don't know how to, and I don't think you ever can. You're not going to get rid of these fears. They're not going to magically disappear. Where your power comes in is recognizing the fear and recognizing when your ego is talking versus allowing your spirit to really talk. And so that's what Sonia did in that moment. She heard her ego pull her back and then instead stepped out and said, no, my life here is to help people and love on people. And that's what makes me happy. And I'm going to offer that up. And if they choose to thrive, great. If they don't, great. I'm still here to help people. That's where we need to go. When people reach out to me and say, 2 people quit, one of my auto ships dropped off, this girl, she said she wanted to be a promoter and now she's not doing anything. What I really want to say is, okay, that's 4 people. It's only 4 people. There's a gazillion people in this world. Why are you worried about these 4 people instead of shining your light? Right? If you're spotlighting, and you got to think, you guys have been the victim in the past where somebody has spotlighted you, where you've gotten bombarded with messages, right? You know what I'm talking about? Somebody had a Pampered Chef party and you're the only one that didn't come. And so now they're sending you the thing and the thing and the thing and the thing. And they're like, are you going to order? I need you to order, blah, blah, blah. And so then you place an order and they're like, oh, great, you placed an order. Now I think you want to have a party for me. And you're like, no, girl, I just had the order because I wanted you to get off my back. Like, that feeling. Nobody likes that feeling. But yet all of a sudden, when we're on the other side, instead of casting our big bright light over the world to see, we start spotlighting people. And we start really like, oh, they quit. If they quit, then I suck as a promoter. If they're not, that girl lost her auto bonus, I must be the world's worst leader. Well, okay, it's not about you. It's them. It was their decision. I've watched people walk away from an auto bonus. It wasn't because they didn't work or they didn't try or they couldn't do the work. They walked away from it. I'll never understand it, but I watched it with my own eyeballs, right? And so I could take that to be like, well, I'm a really crappy leader. Oh, wow. Wow. No, that's their life. They're living their life. I'm going to live my life. So do you see how this really affects your business? Can you see how on the day to day, your ego is popping in and screwing some stuff up for you? When I know at the heart of it all, none of us even want to think we have an ego, but we do. And so it's important to know. For me, it's easier to work backwards. For me, it's easier to build that alter ego that we talked about. Because if I know who my alter ego is, then I know what my real ego is, right? It's a lot easier that way. And I hope the older I get, the wiser I get, the more practiced I get at realizing it. I hope to eventually get my ego to actually match that beautiful alter ego that I think is the ideal person that I want to be. But I also have to give myself grace and know that there are times in my life where in the split second I forget that there is a bigger world out there. And I forget that I'm just a speck and I'm literally not that important in the grand scheme of people's lives. If I spent as much time focused and worried about myself as I do about others, could you imagine how far in life I would have gotten by now? Instead of ruminating over and over in my head, I should have said this, I should have said that, I can't believe she did this, she left the business, she said the product didn't work, she said that it gave her diarrhea and that I'm a liar, blah, blah, blah. Right? Like you worry so much about that stuff and oh, it's my fault, oh my gosh. No, that's them, that's their life. You got to worry about your own. You got to worry about the direction. You got to decide what it is that you want and you got to go for it. And if you want to build this business so that you can change your family's lives and change the lives of other families, then there's really no room for your ego. You're going to have to edge that girl out. You're going to have to kick him out of the driver's seat. And I'm telling you, you're going to kick him out, and they're somehow going to open that door and push you into the passenger seat. And you're going to have to kick him back out. It's an ongoing battle, but it's a battle worth fighting. And it's a battle that I think it takes sitting down and talking about for you to really realize how many times a day that ego is popping in. Courtney says, I have let go a lot in the last year. I can't beg people to stay because their weight is dragging me down and I'm only going up. Absolutely. And that's the thing. When you start spotlighting that one person and you just keep, and you're just, oh, they're quitting and I don't want them to quit. I think they should be a 12K, but they just don't even want to do their 5, 4, 3, 2, 1s. And like, I actually had the other day, it popped in my head. I was, the assignments, if you want to call them that we've talked about in the last couple Zooms, only 4 or 5 people are doing it. On the Zooms themselves, only a handful of people are doing it. And I was like, well, maybe the rewards thing was dumb. I shouldn't do it. Nobody wants to, like, literally, that stuff started going through my head. And I was like, shoot. First of all, Tammy, it's been 2 weeks. And secondly, Tammy, you're not that important. If people want to participate in what you have going on, they will. And more importantly, the ones that are participating, that's who you want to focus on. So yeah, I started, instead of shining my light on you guys, I started spotlighting the people who weren't showing up. How often do we do that in our life? Right? How often do you say, my uncle said I will never make it in this business? Even though maybe your 3 best friends are like, oh my gosh, girl, you're going to do this. This is amazing. But you're focused on your uncle. You have that one person who told you no when you got a bunch of other people telling you can do it. That's your ego. That's your ego. That's your fear. It's very easy to say maybe he's right instead of maybe these 3 girlfriends of mine are right. Yep. So I just wanted to have this conversation because I feel like it's very necessary. And I feel like it's something we should probably repeat on the regular. And I would love to know, you can just shoot me a DM. I would love for you to tell me in the last week, 1 to 3 times. Don't give me more than 3, although I'm sure more than 3 has happened. At least 1, no more than 3 times where now that you're looking back, you saw your ego drive you right out of an opportunity or a situation. Because I think the more times you can identify it, then you're going to get better and better. Ronnie, you literally just shook my shoulders. Well, good. You're welcome. You are welcome. All right. So let me know 1 up to 3 times that last week you felt your ego literally take over the driver's seat. And now looking back, because you guys, hindsight is everything. You know, as much as I said the 28-year-old Tammy would not have believed the 48-year-old Tammy's like, damn, we have learned so much. Now looking back, I'm so much smarter. So let's look back over the last week. Tell me when ego destroyed you, took away your happiness, your joy, your chance to talk to somebody, your ability to shine your light. And the reason I want you to do that is not to punish yourself in any way. It's just so you can see it, recognize it, because it's going to happen again. But when it happens the next time, you're going to know, and you're going to be able to maneuver around it. It's like driver's ed, you guys. How many of you like either had a kid in your life that was going to learn to drive and you were like, oh, they're not going to know to like keep their eye on the rearview mirror and look at this. There's so much going on. How are they going to do this? I'm so scared. They're going to, and that's why we start in a parking lot. And then actually, in my case, we started out in the cow field on a tractor, right? You have to practice and you get better and you get better and you get better. And it's the same thing with this. It's practice will never make you perfect, but practicing and recognizing these situations will make things better for you. And hopefully you felt this, Sonia, when that happened to you over the weekend. There's this sudden pride where like your peacock feathers come up. You're like, oh, that's right. I shut that fear down. I stepped into that anyway. Look, I did it and no one died. Right? Because remember, your fear is afraid of everything. It's afraid you're going to die. It's afraid you're going to like you're like actually truly going to die, or you're like theoretically going to die, right? Like, but you stepped out of it and no one died. And that's how you prove your ego wrong. And that's how you build that alter ego more into who you are. So anyway, I hope this was helpful. I hope this got you guys thinking. Sonny said yes, and I thought the 2 friends listening were missing out. Yes. See? Yes, good. That's it. Yeah. We have a great thing here and people can come or not. I mean, I think of your favorite restaurant. It may not be the favorite restaurant for everyone else that you know. And you may be like, well, I'm really missing out not coming here, but it doesn't affect your day to day, right? You still go. So same with Thrive. You guys have the best product. You have the best support system for someone looking for a business. And some people are smart enough to hop in and some people aren't. Sonia says, I don't know how people can feel good and then can feel, yeah, and feel good. Well, that's the thing. There's so much going on in people's lives that we don't know. We don't know. I mean, there's a lot of women who would give their left arm for their child. And if in this case, their left arm is to give up their Thrive, they'll do it. Even though we all know that they'll be happier and better moms in the moment, we just don't always know. So I understand. Trust me, I get frustrated and confused about that too, but we don't know. So, all right, guys. So we have lunch and grow in a few minutes, and then we have corporate call at 1. So I'll see you later. Bye.